This season, we've witnessed a shocking trend. That is, as I'm making this video, the tenure of a coach has reached the lowest level in NHL history.
Ross taking the house down.
As we went from it being a common occurrence to see coaches stick with one team for a decade to the average tenure of a coach being 2.2 years. The NHL leads all of North American professional sports in coach firings, and by a wide margin. Now, this graphic is a bit outdated in that it's actually less now, but as we can see, the NHL is on a different level in terms of instantly firing a coach when things go wrong. Think about the optics here. Martin St. Louis is the 5th longest tenured coach in the NHL. This man took over the team right before the 2023 season. 23 of the current 32 coaches were all hired from 2023 on. 13 NHL coaches are brand new to their team this season. So it begs the question, what in the hell is going on? Because on one hand, a team like the Oilers last season went from being a complete and utter disaster to start the season. They would fire Woodcroft, hire Knobloch, or they would end up in Game 7 of the Cup final. This season, Detroit had an atrocious start to the season. They would fire their coach and are now trending towards a wildcard spot. But on the other hand, the Flyers have had 5 coaches in the past 5 years. Yet, they are still a non-playoff team. You would think that when players have consistent structure, a consistent game plan, that it would eventually lead to success. So then begs the question, does firing a coach when the team is struggling actually have a big impact? Or is it just a GM trying to save his job? And well, after digging into the numbers, I would discover something shocking. Today's video is brought to you by HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a high-quality meal kit service that makes it easier than ever to hit your nutrition goals. Their delicious recipes feature produce sourced directly from Canadian farmers, picked at peak ripeness. It goes from farm to table in under a week, which means that the menus feature the season's freshest flavors. On today's menu, we have the Spanish-inspired chorizo and chickpea stew. How well can I replicate this? Watch and find out. Enjoy cost certainty with HelloFresh. No surprise price hikes like the store. Choose from weekly recipes, get pre-portioned ingredients, and cook up a homemade feast in no time. It's comfort, convenience, and value all in one. From 20-minute meals to hearty winter favorites, HelloFresh makes cooking from home simple and satisfying. Okay, here's the final product. And honestly, this was my favorite dish yet. I'm not joking when I say that HelloFresh single-handedly sparked a new passion for cooking for me. And if you click the link down below, get up to 20 meals for free, plus free sides for life and free shipping on your first order at hellofresh.ca using code RTH. Offers for new and returning subscribers who've been canceled for more than 270 days. That's 20 meals free, plus free sides for life at hellofresh.ca using code RTH. On this graphic, we have the before and after record of 10 different coaching changes that occurred during the season. From these 10 teams and coaches, I would specifically pinpoint teams who before the season were seen as a team who had a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. Maybe they were seen as a playoff lock, or perhaps they were teams who made a big step in the prior season. Okay, so before the coaching change, these teams had a 43.58 points percentage, meaning that from a full 82 game season, they were on pace for 71 points. And for some perspective, since the 05-06 lockout, the average cutoff line for the playoffs is 92 points. Meaning that not only were these 10 teams on average way outside the playoff picture, no, they were lottery teams competing for the first overall pick. However, when these teams would fire their coach, they would go from 43.58 to a 58.28 points percentage. And guess what? This would equate to a 96 point pace throughout an 82 game season. According to history, these coaching changes would directly lead to the team making the playoffs. Now, I personally have not seen this stat before. I painstakingly created this stat in Excel, but without a question, every single team in the NHL is aware of this stat, which is why we see so many coaches fired every single season. The proof is in the pudding. But okay, what exactly do new coaches do to spark their team? After showing progress in the 23-24 season.
Raymond across the shot, they score! Larkin from Raymond!
After their young core continued to take steps into stardom.
Sider, Mo Sider, short-handed, the backhand, he scores!
This team expected to be in the race. Yet, the start of the season was a complete and utter disaster. And to show you how this dysfunction is rooted from coaching, let's take a look at their systems before and after a coaching change. At the 13-minute mark in the first period, Montreal gains possession in the neutral zone, and as we can see, Detroit is clearly playing trap defense. They have Veleno as the F1 attacking the puck carrier, and 4 guys back to clog up the neutral zone in an attempt to suffocate Montreal's offensive rush. Except, even though in theory they had good positioning, this defenseman is unsure if he should aggressively pinch on Armia, which then causes this Red Wing to get caught floating between 2 players because he's not committing to a hap. This Red Wing now feels the pressure to play in between these 2 Habs players. This right here is uncertainty, as the team clearly knows they should be in a trap formation, but they don't have the structure, formation, maybe just confidence to properly attack the puck, as this hesitation will lead to the Habs player being left wide open on the left wall.
They find space, and they score! One got through the wickets. Emil Heineman with his 7th goal.
This defenseman commits to the hab. It allows the F2 to commit to this hab, which then allows the F3 to commit to this hab. This play is shut down before it even happens. Because again, Derek Lalonde has been clearly pushing trap defense, but what he doesn't do well is communicate or perhaps teach his players exactly what to do once they've created this formation, as all their players seem like lost puppies. Now, don't get me wrong, I may be being a bit hard, this is just one example, but this same scenario has been happening time and time again this season. On this next play, Caulfield enters the Detroit zone. Okay, pause it here. Look at the team's formation. We have 2 Montreal players within arm's length, going up against 5 Detroit defenders. So all the Red Wings did a good job in back-checking, but again, they're just all lost. Not a single Red Wing is committing to go man-on-man. They're just sitting back watching the play unravel. They have the right idea, but this team is lacking aggression, or maybe direction from the coach on who takes who. This would then cause them to lose track of the trailing Habs. Caulfield gets it to Hudson.
For Hudson, over to Nick Suzuki. Score!
We now have 2 Red Wings D-men, both trying to tie up Yuri Slafkovsky. The center doesn't know who to cover, which would then cause the wingers to panic between shot options. On this next play, the Habs take possession of the puck. Except, look at these 2 Red Wings players. Instead of taking a man, they are both flat-footed, just watching the Habs drive to their net on an odd man rush. Joe Veleno throughout this clip doesn't take a single stride until the puck is in the back of their net.
Back of the puck, Dvorak. In front, Heineman scores!
I also want to make one thing clear. I watch Detroit play all the time, which is why I know this was a common situation to start the season. However, when I was highlighting these plays, I did not watch 20 highlights to find the worst breakdowns. No, these are literally the first games I clicked on. On top of that, it's also very important to understand that when a coach starts implementing new systems, that the team will continue to make mistakes. It's inevitable. Ideally, when a coach is trying to emphasize trap defense, a structure which has taken over the game, it can take months, if not years, for young players not only to perform this strategy well, but where they get so good at it that they master it, to the extent where it becomes a muscle memory, to where players don't even have to consciously think about positioning, to where they just innately know where to go without thinking. However, when a coach like Derek Lalonde is running a team for several years, and we're still seeing these blatant breakdowns rooted from effort or focus, it only means one of 3 things. 1, he's failing as a coach, and that Lalonde is struggling to adjust game plans on the fly, adapt in the moment, or perhaps he didn't create sound systems in the first place. 2, maybe the coach is world class, but the team just doesn't fit his strategies. Think about a coach like Rick Tocchet. He is the perfect fit for JT Miller. When Tocchet played, he was an in-your-face power forward. He wasn't afraid to go into the dirty areas and scored some big goals.
And he scored!
By no coincidence, JT Miller would have a career year.
Towards the net, he scores! JT Miller!
Paul Maurice walked away from Winnipeg, only to make back-to-back cup finals and win a cup with Florida. 3, he lost the room and the attention of the team. You know, when headlines come out that a star player gets benched, isn't necessarily benching that player because he thinks that taking him out is going to win the game. No, that coach is trying to create accountability by sending a message that even the best players on this team breaking down defensively can lead to them being benched. And if I'm benching the top players, I will surely bench the bottom 6. This card can only be played so many times. If you're routinely benching stars and the culture is still not shifting, players players are just not buying in, you've lost the room. It's the same reason to why, even though John Tortorella has great defensive systems, that he loses many of the rooms he coaches due to his intensity. Think about Detroit. Patrick Kane has been a consistent superstar since day one. Now, of course, Patrick Kane is not a spring chicken, but he is still an elite player.
It's Patrick Kane in Chicago!
Oh my God!
Kane with the overtime winner! The Red Wings win it!
And even when a team isn't performing well in the standings, this should not necessarily completely eliminate the production of a star player. Defense and offense are two different things here, but not only was the Red Wings structure leading to horrendous defense, but it was also limiting the offense of their top players. Because before firing Lalonde, Patrick Kane had 14 points in 30 games. He is a career point per game player who was on a 38-point pace. And as I'm making this video, Patrick Kane has 16 points in 11 games, which is a 119-point pace. Now, is Kane gonna sustain this pace? Of course not. But the difference here is shocking, because when a new coach takes over a team, a couple things happen. One, that coach was intentionally hired to fix specific issues within the team. Detroit was having issues implementing defensive structure. That is hands down the first thing you address, and Todd McLellan is the guy. And two, emotional response. When a player knows that their on-ice play would lead to a man losing their job, there will always be an emotional response to the new coach. Because, and guess what? Now with Todd McLellan, this is a new team.
Shot go off him. But they score! Kasper! Look at this hit. He reversed hit him.
Was Bobrovsky to make a good save.
Tender when they come in now. We don't see that a ton.
A giveaway. Kane dangles.
Remember how I showed that Detroit was just afraid to be aggressive? Look at the difference in pressure between this frame, everybody has a man with one playing rover, which is fine, and this frame. This team went from looking disinterested to buying into a system, making a simple play, and emotionally looking like they had run through a wall for their coach. This right here is the impact of a coaching change, and why the NHL has the highest turnover in all of professional sports. I really appreciate ya if you left a like on this video. A big shout out to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Click my link down below and use code RTH to receive up to 20 meals free plus free shipping. And as always, thanks for watching.